Hi everyone, I'm Law of the West, and in this video I'm going to be going over various aspects of the Supply or Die event. And some of the key points I'm going to be talking about are what its missions are like and what you can get for doing it. I'll also be giving you tips on what you need to do if you want to complete the event quickly, as well as going over some of the things that you should avoid doing. Then I'll finish things up by giving a quick synopsis of what I thought was successful about it and what could be done to improve it in the future. The Supply or Die event is all about doing several kinds of missions that pay out ridiculous amounts of credits. So this is a chance for you to amass a lot of wealth in a very short period of time. They're also offering 3 rewards for completing the event. One of them is a display piece you can put in your hangar. It's a little diorama that was built out of the cast-off remains of some old Detatrine containers, and it's also got a little commemorative plaque on it somewhere along the base of the structure. And the second tier level reward is a Ravager shotgun. It's got a unique skin, and I actually really like this shotgun more than the others because it's a rapid-fire weapon. But I mainly like it because I'm not going to turn down a free gun. And finally, the third and highest tier level rewards are a set of 3 unique skins. One of them is for the Prospector, another's for the Fortune, and the third one's for the Vulture, and they all have the same color scheme as the Ravager. At one point, someone asked me why they should be interested in getting these unique weapons or skins, especially if they don't own any of these ships. And it's because in the future, the customs items that we have in our hangar are going to come with a blueprint. That means you're going to be able to use a fabricator to print up copies of anything that you already permanently own. And you could earn credits by selling copies of these kinds of unique weapons and maybe even rare paint jobs for people who really like these skins but missed out on the event. And if they want them, they're going to have to come to you and pay for you to fabricate a copy of it for them. That's just something to keep in mind. All the missions for this event have been broken down to 3 basic types, and they're all listed under the Priorities tab. And the 3 types of missions are going to be asking you for salvage, resources, or Detatrine, and they're going to want you to get it for them and then deliver to a specific location. And each of these missions are going to have a light, medium, and heavy version that pays out incrementally more as they go up in scale. And depending on what your standing is with each faction, you could be doing these missions for either the CFP or the Headhunters. Detatrine is a commodity that's used by the CFP to make medicine and by the Headhunters to make sludge. And the out of Detatrine missions play out a lot like they're a mini version of the Jumptown event, except in this case you're going to be heading off to a depot where you can buy the Detatrine from a designated kiosk. All these depots are located in contested zones, and they're going to be first come first serve. And 6 of these depots have been added to the Pyro system, 1 for each of the major planets. And these missions were designed for large orgs and for people who want PvP, so each location is going to be one giant hot mess that offers high risk and lots of combat. If you don't like PvP, you could try your hand at trading in copper and corundum. These items can be purchased at one of the gateways, certain landing zones, and specific stations that are located throughout the Stanton system, and some that are in Pyro. But there's some issues with that, and I'll be talking about what those are in detail later on. If you don't like PvP or cargo hauling, you could try your hand at mining. The mining missions ask for either compressed ice or tin. There's also a series of salvage missions that will ask you for RMC, which is the material that you get from hull scraping, and CM, which is what you get from breaking down the frame of a ship. So with that said, I want to give you some advice on how to be able to get the rewards for this event as quickly as possible, and there's 2 main ways to do it. The first is if you're playing with an org, you can share missions with everyone just before you turn any of the commodities in that you've collected, and everyone else will reap the points reward for it. So if everybody in your org is doing this, you can earn enough points to complete the event and gain the physical rewards in almost no time. And some of the larger orgs have been meeting the requirements to earn all the rewards in a single day. But what if you're not running with an org? What if you're a solo player? Solo players should focus on only doing the small missions, and keep doing them until you've earned enough points to get all the rewards. That's because small missions will let you earn the most points for turning in the least amount of a commodity, and the large missions are just the opposite. I'll give you an example. I focused on doing mostly salvage runs. The first one I did was a large supply run that asked for 200 SCUs of RMC and 400 SCUs of CS. And it gave me 13 million for completing it, and it gave me 534 points. The second one that I did was a medium supply mission that asked for 56 SCUs of RMC and 105 SCUs of CM. It paid 3 million and gave me 300 points towards the rewards. And the small supply mission was asking for 7 SCUs of RMC and 14 SCUs of CM, but it paid out 391,000 and gave me 200 reward points. So as you can see, you'll be getting the most points for handing in the least amount of goods if you stick to doing the small missions. And then after you get all the rewards unlocked, you can move over to doing the medium or even the large missions so that you can earn more credits. So what were the ups and downs when it came to doing these missions? The first thing that I have to say is that they did a very successful job at creating a new Jumptown experience for PvPers. So if you have a large group of people to run with, or you just want to have a lot of action, then the Out of Dedetrine missions are definitely going to be for you. I found that it was easy to find myself getting caught in an endless stalemate with some other group, and I know a lot of people were getting very frustrated with this. I found that this was a lot like the in-game version of the Vandal Swarm, because people just kept endlessly coming, and no matter when you arrive, there's always going to be someone who's already camped out there. I also wouldn't recommend doing these missions for solo players. That is, unless you're the kind of person who likes to take a game that you've never played before and crank it all the way up to nightmare difficulty, and then spend the rest of your gaming session dying over and over again in the first room. I actually know people who are like that, so no judgment. It's just good for you to know what you're getting yourself into. The alternative to collecting Dedetrine was to go to a kiosk at certain stations and purchasing copper and corundum in a nice safe environment. So what could possibly go wrong with that? And this is what could go wrong with that. This is what every admin center looked like for 24/7 on every server for the duration of the event. Now, people camped out at these kiosks night and day, making it impossible for anyone else to trade in these commodities, and they would be instantly bought out after their inventory refreshed. The Magnus Gateway station was notorious for this because it sells both of these commodities. And the alternative to Magnus is going to Seraphim Station for copper and Bajini Point for corundum. And there's even more spots you can go to that also supply these items. You're going to have to do a little research on your own if you want to find them. And the other commodities that the factions were asking for were compressed ice and tin, and you can get these by mining for them in the Pyro system. I like the idea that there was a solution to this problem that was specifically made for people who like to mine. But what they didn't tell you in the mission description was how to go about getting it. All it says is that it might be worth checking the asteroid clusters near Lagrange points to start. So you have to figure out on your own that these items can only be mined in Pyro, and that tin can be found in areas that are closest to the sun, while compressed ice is going to be found in areas that are furthest from the sun. And there's a lot of disinformation being spread as to where to go from people who are purposely trying to mislead other players because they don't want to have to compete with more people for resources. So that's why I chose salvage. There's been a massive abandoned ships that are just left behind in both Pyro and Stanton, so you can find salvage almost everywhere. But in Stanton, you risk getting a crime stat for salvaging abandoned ships, and in Pyro, you risk getting your butt handed to you if you stay anywhere for too long. And salvaging the material that they're asking for can end up being a very drawn-out process. And Stanton really needs to loosen up on their restrictions when it comes to what is and is not considered to be viable salvage. You'd think that space stations would be happy that you're clearing up all the garbage that's clogging up their space. One would even think that they might even start offering missions for salvagers to come and get rid of all those abandoned ships. You getting my not-so-subtle hint there, CIG? Wink, wink. And that brings me to the rewards. The most successful thing about this event was with the rewards and how they start handing them out. And in the past, you'd have to wait for them to distribute the rewards in waves long after an event was finished, and it would always end up being problematic in some way. And it's so much more satisfying the way that they're doing things now. The instant that you've earned enough points, you're given an in-game message stating that you've done it. And it's very gratifying to see that notification being displayed as opposed to the now let's wait several weeks to see if you actually get the reward or not way that they used to do things. The first reward, the diorama, ended up being a lot better looking than I expected. And like I said before, I'm never going to turn down a free weapon or suit of armor. And the ship skins are neat looking, especially the vultures. I think I like how that one looks the most. But the main things that they really need to work on were how copper and corundum were sold. It really could have paid off if they allowed additional locations to sell it, at least just for the event, and then increase the amounts that the stations had. And the other thing is that they were very ambiguous with the mining descriptions, like to the point where you had to rely on secondhand information, YouTube videos, and word of mouth to figure out where to go and how to get compressed ice and tin. You should never have to go anywhere outside the game to find the information that you need to complete a mission. Well, that's going to be it for all I have to say about the Supplier Die event. I've been your host, Law of the West. Thanks for watching, and take care.